Hello, everybody. My name is Lauren Werscher.
And I'm Jack Cluth.
And we are here tonight with the show Ravings and Reviews. We are back, baby.
Back. I'm so excited.
So, if you haven't heard of our show before, we had some episodes last semester at MSUM. But unfortunately, we had to take a little break. But we are a movie review podcast, and we are so pumped to be back on the mic. Back, and we're gonna tell you about some stuff. So, Jack, did you have anything you wanted to say about how excited you are to be back?
I'm so excited to be back. I have thought about, well, no, that's not true. I've thought about other things, but it was my favorite thing that I did on campus last year, without a shadow of a doubt. And so it's just really good to be back this semester.
This week, we decided for our first movie back, we wanted to talk about Candyman.
Ooh, the original, not the new one.
Yeah. So we both had the new one on the mind, or at least I had the new one on the mind because I had seen ads for it all over. But I really wanted to do the original. So that's the movie we decided to have as our big comeback.
Yes, ma'am.
To our new series of awesomeness of this.
Yeah, hopefully
podcast.
We can make it through an entire school year this year. I don't even think we got through an entire one semester. So.
Well, I mean, our last episode was around November of last year.
Yeah, it was right before Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, it was right before Thanksgiving break because, unfortunately, some COVID restrictions and just general life conflicts made it so that we couldn't be together and do any podcasting stuff. So we wanted to try Discord or something like that, but nothing really ever materialized. So, but that all doesn't matter. That was last semester.
We're back now.
We're back in the saddle.
So excited. And Candyman.
Yeah.
I'd wanted to see this for a while too, especially when the new one came out. Shamefully, I can't say I really had ever thought about crossing paths with this movie before the new one, but now that it's out, I was very excited to see the original, and let's just jump right into it.
Sure,
Lauren, what did you think about this?
I really like this movie. I originally only saw it through like reviews and stuff like that and reading stuff online. This is the first time that I ever actually watched it in full, and I really liked it. It's a bit slow paced. I will say that. The beginning was very, very slow. And there was a lot going on, but as soon as it hit the action of it, it picked up really fast and went really, really far. So
yeah,
I really, really like this movie, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Good. Yeah, I hadn't even seen any clips.
Really?
I knew like genuinely nothing about this movie, other than like new information from the trailer for the new one that I got. But no, I knew nothing about it, and it was a fun one.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun one.
Yeah.
It was a fun one. Definitely not, I mean, the Candyman is an iconic horror villain, but he's definitely not as well known as like Freddy Krueger or Jason or Michael or all like the big name ones. Mm-hmm. He's definitely a bit more B-list, not in quality. Definitely not in quality because he's a really, really good villain, but definitely not as well known.
For sure. And he doesn't have the amount of like widespread that like Jason and Michael Myers does. They've all got like 10 movies about them. Candyman's only got 3. And then 4 now if you include the new one.
Yeah, 4 now because there's 3. There's the original, there's a sequel, and then there's a third movie, and then there's the remake. So there's a total of 4 Candyman movies.
Yes, yep.
So, but today we're just looking at the first one, which was released in 1992. It was directed by Bernard Rose, who has directed a number of horror movies, the most notable being Paper House from 1988. And then he's also done some historical romance, which I was kind of surprised about.
It's a pretty big jump in genre.
Yeah. The most notable one I found of that was Immortal Beloved, which was released in 1994. Never heard of either of those movies, so it's pretty safe to say that Candyman is probably his, or at least one of his biggest and most notable works.
For sure.
This movie was produced by Clive Barker, who is most known for the Hellraiser series and some other works.
Oh, okay. I knew that name sounded familiar.
Yeah, and then this movie was written by Bernard Rose and Clive Barker.
Gotcha.
So the director and producer both wrote this movie. And this movie stars the likes of Virginia Madsen, Cassie Lemons, Xander Berkeley, and the infamous Tony Todd, who I am so excited to talk about because Tony Todd is the Candyman. He is the man himself, the person who breathes life into this frankly terrifying horror movie antagonist.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Toby Turner? What's it? Or what was the actor's name?
Tony Todd.
Tony Todd. Okay.
Toby Turner.
Tony Todd. He's been in a lot of movies. I didn't
Yeah.
even realize, but I went to look up more about him, and he's been in so many movies.
Yeah,
so.
I think his only other, the only other one that comes to mind, the only role that I know him for is he was in the Final Destination movies.
Oh, gotcha.
He's kind of like the foreteller, like the one guy who's in like all the movies and is like, you're gonna die, and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So he does really well in those roles too, though I have not watched much Final Destination.
Yeah. Well, just going off of his performance in here, I mean, he did a great job bringing a lot of life to this character.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit of the general plot of like explaining like the general premise of this movie. So
Sure.
This movie is just basically an exploration of urban mythology.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking at, and the main focus is the Candyman, which is an urban legend in the area, this movie said in Illinois. Yes, the movie said it's Illinois. Yeah,
Yep.
Chicago. So this is, the Candyman is an urban legend in Chicago, and the premise is that if you say his name 5 times in the mirror, he appears behind you and kills you.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Bloody Mary logic.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very Bloody Mary-esque, but
Yeah.
I don't know it like which came out first, or if like.
That's a really good question.
Yeah,
I
was
know.
gonna look it up, but I never really thought about doing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting considering like the like, you know, it's literally just you're speaking into a mirror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden it's summoned something else. Like,
Right, yeah.
It's a pretty scary concept,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, hell yeah.
yeah.
I couldn't go to the bathroom at night when I was a kid. Not because of the Candyman, but because of like the Bloody Mary type thing. I was so scared of that when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I'd have like mirrors in my room, and I would not look at them at night because I would freak myself out so badly. So yeah, I guess you could say that I was already a little bit unfairly gonna be scared by this movie.
Yeah, I remember doing, you know, like at sleepovers when people are like, I dare you to go do Bloody Mary in the mirror, and then they like go and they're like, Bloody Mary, ah! And like they scare. Like it's obviously not real in that context, but however, in this movie, it is very real.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really kind of all the general notes I have about it. Do you think I missed something? Or?
No, I think that's pretty much it. So the story follows our main character named Helen. And she's writing a college thesis paper with her friend about various urban legends.
Yep.
And the one, obviously, that she gets hooked on the most, the one that she finds most interesting, is the Candyman.
Yes.
And so the movie is her kind of exploring this urban myth. And as she gets deeper and deeper into it, things really start to hit the fan as the movie progresses.
Yeah.
And I would agree that it is a bit more of a slow burn, although that was not a problem for me.
Yeah, it's a very, very slow burn.
I was enjoying the slow burn
yeah.
a lot. I was really, really enjoying the whole mystery and uncovering little clues and speaking to members within the community about their experiences with Candyman, and then like finding out more murders and all these other horrible things that happened. I was really, really enjoying the investigation aspect of this movie.
It's so slow of a burn that the actual Candyman does not show up in the movie until like 40 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
Like we hear his voice at the beginning, but then we don't see any like sort of he's only mentioned until I would consider it like the turning point of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very, very slow burn, but like you said, it works. It really does work.
Yeah, we didn't even need him for those first 40 minutes because his voiceover alone in the beginning was enough to scare me. I mean,
yes. Yeah, like they had some really good mics when they had him record that, because I was sitting there like just ooh, just chills.
And he speaks like that throughout the entire movie. He's always got this very deep, bassy, and then kind of echoey tone over it. His voice was genuinely very scary, and that was one of my favorite aspects about that physical part of the Candyman.
Yeah, I genuinely think this casting was perfect for this movie. Like, I don't think I could imagine anybody else playing the Candyman but Tony Todd.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I could not think of anybody else who could play that role any better than he did.
No, for sure. Yeah, there are a lot of like Tobin Bell. He's the only person that can be Jigsaw.
Yes.
Tony Todd.
Yes.
He's the only person that can be the Candyman. And I've only seen this movie, but I don't want to see him as anybody else.
Yes.
Which is interesting because I don't know if he's in the new movie or not.
I think I did read on IMDb that he does reprise his role of the Candyman in this movie,
gotcha.
in the new movie, but I should not say because I have not seen the new movie, so
sure.
I don't take my word for it because I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But yeah, this movie did have some very good. The acting was really, really good. I never felt like it was. I don't think, at least to me, it never felt like cheesy or anything at any parts. The acting felt very genuine.
Yeah, it felt pretty appropriate for the situation that everybody was in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was not great for
no,
most of them.
No, Virginia Madsen, I think she did actually a very good job.
Yes.
Especially, I was expecting this to be a little bit more of a B horror movie, but it's got some pretty nice production, and I can't go another second without talking about the fantastic score.
Yes.
This movie
Oh
has
my
got such a
gosh.
good score to
Yes.
it. I loved it, and I was not expecting to love the theme of this movie so much. I was expecting it to just be very, very basic horror movie music, but no, they really sold me on the theme of this song.
Yeah, this isn't
movie.
going to be an episode of Ravings and Reviews if we don't talk about the score, because that is a running theme in our past episodes. Is we always got to talk about the music, because the music is what makes the movie, honestly. Like, it provides a good complementary. It provides complementary, like,
vibes.
Yeah, complementary vibes to the actual plot and the story.
Yeah,
and
I think.
Forgive me for being distracted. I'm trying to find the name of
Philip Glass.
Philip Glass.
Yes.
I was going to write it down in my notes, but I completely forgot.
No, it's okay. I've heard of Philip Glass before.
Oh,
He's
really?
composed the score for a few movies that I really want to watch. I haven't seen them yet.
Which ones?
That's this art film. It's a bit of a mouthful. It's called Koyani Katsi.
Oh.
Really bizarre, like, experimental documentary. Mm-hmm. And then he's also directed a movie, or composed a score for a movie called Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters.
Oh, okay.
These are both like artsy fartsy movies, but I've heard the score is fantastic.
I think I've heard of Mishima before. Mm-hmm. I think I've heard the name before.
Yeah, he was an artist from Japan, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
when I saw the name pop up, because they did a bit more of an opening credits thing with exterior shots over the top of Chicago, and I saw Philip Glass's name, and by that point I hadn't really had a chance to really get sucked into the music. So I saw his name, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know he scored this, composed this. So yeah. Not only was I in just from the name alone, but even if I hadn't known, I would have still loved this score.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to it on the drive over here.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we have a couple more things we can talk about before we get into, like, spoiler town of
Sure.
actually
Sure.
talking about plot points, and that's the overall design of the Candyman himself, because he's not just a random guy. He is a very, very tall man who wears a gigantic leather. Is it leather? It's a big trench coat.
Like a big fur trench coat.
It's a big fur trench coat, and he has a big hook on his right hand, and that's his, like, iconic.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, slashers have, like, a shtick.
Right,
Like, Freddy
right.
Krueger's got the glove, Jason's got the machete. Candyman has the hook.
Yep.
So that's his overall design. And Tony Todd's, like, super tall, too. So he really plays this really, really, really well. So
Yeah, he's a very commanding force within the movie.
it's a very commanding force, yeah.
Yep, and the hook, I was, for lack of a better word, I was hooked by it. I thought it I thought it might be a bit cheesy, but no, we'll move past that. No, yeah, I thought
First day back, and we're playing into the cheesy puns.
we're
Let's do
back.
it.
I'm telling you, we're back.
Yeah, so I guess I guess there was one more thing. I was kind of conflicted as to whether to call this a slasher or a more paranormal movie.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, because like obviously there's a physical person who is doing the killing, but he's not really real.
I guess I'd call it like a supernatural slasher.
Kind of a supernatural, because like, if I may call back to our first episode of this podcast, we covered Lights Out, which that was definitely a paranormal movie. Like it was dealing with an otherworldly entity that was attacking these people, and like I don't know if I would call the Candyman otherworldly.
Yeah, it blurs the line a bit.
The Candyman is dead. Like the whole legend about it is that this was a kid. Was it a kid, right? Or was it just a guy?
Yeah, like a teenager.
It was like a teenager who was killed, and like this is now like his ghost and he's haunting things. But,
yeah. A vengeful ghost, if you will.
Yes, a vengeful ghost. So, yeah, I think because it's a vengeful ghost, I would say this is more of a paranormal movie, not a slasher. But, I mean, it's definitely a slasher in terms of, like, the gore and the kills. Because, oh my goodness.
Did you like those kind of blurred genres? Like, with the supernatural being the actual person doing the slashing? Like, did that work for you?
Oh yeah, I mean, it definitely worked. I mean, it was kind of confusing because like sometimes other people could see the Candyman, sometimes they couldn't. Like most of the time they couldn't. But then my I shouldn't really say it, but like my mind gets always called back to like the final scene.
Right.
Which is like, and like people can see him. So like it's
Yeah, that's
not the final scene, but like you know what I'm talking about. We can get more into it when we talk about more of like the plot points of the movie, but yeah, this was a really, really good movie. So, and I'm very glad we decided to cover this for our first episode back.
For sure.
Do we maybe want to go to some music?
I was going to say, with that, let's go to our first break back. We will return shortly after some of these songs.
All right, we're back.
We're back. Now.
So now we're gonna get into spoiler town. So if you have not seen this movie, or if you have yet to watch it, or if you're wanting to watch it, I would recommend either stop listening now or just kind of, I don't know, I would really recommend that people watch this movie.
Oh, I would definitely recommend people check it out. Yeah.
So if you haven't seen this movie, just be wary that we are going to be spoiling a lot of the major plot points, mostly deaths, and some other pretty important details regarding the plot. So just be wary of that, and with that, we can kind of get into the story. So we talked about before that this movie surrounds Helen and her friend Bernadette with their quest to write because they're both master's students at the University of Illinois, and they're writing their senior thesis.
Yeah.
So, and they're writing it on the urban legend of Candyman. So they're going around, they're interviewing people, they're like trying to find people's stories that like say that this is a real. Are they looking for that it's real?
I think they're just looking for more information so that their thesis can be more well developed. Yeah, I suppose that's what they're doing. But this leads them kind of into like the slum poor area of Chicago, to like the projects and stuff.
Yeah, specifically to a housing project called Cabrini Green.
Yes.
Which was actually a real place, as far as I know, really? or like was filmed somewhat on site.
Oh.
Or like they're at least like most of the outdoor parts of that, of like when they're like outside the building, because they actually go to this housing project building. Helen and Bernadette do. And they actually go to this building and like go take pictures and investigate and stuff like that. And
Cabrini Green is where
Cabrini Green.
Cabrini.
Yeah.
Cabrini. Cabrini.
Yep, Cabrini Green.
Cabrini Green is where one of the most brutal Candyman murders took place.
Yes.
And so that's why they're going there to just to do a little bit of investigating for their thesis. Something about this movie that I was not going to be aware of. So the new Candyman that's coming out has got almost an entirely black cast.
Yes.
And I thought, because Jordan Peele was like an executive producer on this movie, I thought that was a choice by him. But it actually, as it turns out, this original Candyman movie deals a lot with racial elements and has actually a lot of African American cast members.
Yeah, the cast is mostly African American. I think only like Helen and her husband Trevor are really the two most notable cast members that are white.
Yeah.
Everyone else is African American. So, and then Cabrini Green, where this was set, was actually, like, outside of the movie, was actually a pretty big site for gang violence in Chicago.
Oh.
So, so that they could film safely, the producers actually, like, paid some of the gangs off.
Oh, wow.
Because like, I'm pretty sure there was an interview I saw, or like I read this somewhere, but there was, I think Tony Todd had stated that there were at least like five. There were like five. I don't know the terminology, so forgive me, but there was a lot of gang violence in that area, and mostly, then according to the cast, most of it went off without a hitch. But I'm pretty sure their cameraman did get shot. At least one point.
Wow.
So, but no one was harmed. It was literally just a generator. So,
gotcha.
And then also, apparently some real gang members were featured in the film. Like when they're out, there's a scene where Bernadette and Helen are like walking into the building, like going in to examine all of it. Mm-hmm. And there are some gang members out in front of the building, and they're kind of like, they're talking to them. They're kind of catcalling.
Yeah,
not
they're
very
kind
much
of
catcalling.
harassing both of them as they're going into the building,
Yeah.
not leaving them alone. And that would make sense that they were actually like gang members.
Not all of them, but like at least some of them like were actually gang members, and like they weren't costumed. They were literally just wearing their clothes.
Oh, really?
The clothes that they had.
Oh, well, they did a very good job at being sleazy and catcalling.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that most of the dialogue was overdubbed.
Oh.
There I think there might have been a couple things that were overdubbed in post.
Oh, okay.
But most of everything else that happens like inside of the building, like the interior is a set, like a studio. Mm-hmm. But most of the outside of the building was filmed on site.
Since you brought up the sets, that was something I wanted to mention, is that I really liked them.
I did too.
I thought
the
sets were very they're all very decrepit and messy and really grungy.
Yeah, very grungy. There's a lot of graffiti. Like there was like almost every single inch of the walls of the inside of Cabrini Green was covered in graffiti. And I really liked it. It really it set a really, really cool atmosphere, and all of it, and also it looked really cool. Like the graffiti looked really, really cool. Like the most notable mural, I think I would say that there's two. There's a big mural of the Candyman's face, where his mouth is a hole in the wall that like goes into another apartment building, which we see Helen climb through, and then that sort of image is with her throughout the rest of the movie. Yeah, it like flashes in her mind every time she sees the Candyman. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is, there is a phrase that is repeated numerous times throughout the graffiti that I've seen, and that's where is it? Sweets to the sweet, which is, it's a Hamlet quote.
Yes, so, I heard that. Yep.
So, but that was really cool. Like they really designed that well.
Mm-hmm. And then the juxtaposition between like her really nice, like upscaled apartment building, very clean, and then this really impoverished area with a lot of like broken down, rundown buildings and stuff. I like that contrast a lot.
Yeah, that contrast is really cool, because I the one notable scene that comes to mind is like, at one point, they're in Cabrini Green talking to a woman who lives there. I can't remember her name. It's
Anne Marie.
Anne Marie. Yep, Anne Marie and her her son, baby Anthony. They're talking and they're kind of getting interviewed for Helen and Bernadette's thesis, and then they're in her little apartment inside Cabrini Green, and then it transfers transitions immediately into a super nice and fancy restaurant where Bernadette, her husband, and another professor at the university are sitting. And that is just the most like stark contrast of like everything that had been happening in the movie so far. So
yeah, for sure.
I think if I had to pick my favorite scene from this movie, it would be the first scene where the Candyman shows up.
In the parking garage?
Yes, in the parking garage.
Yep.
It is. That scene is iconic. Like it's very, very iconic, and like it's the first time we ever see the man himself in the flesh.
I suppose it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because like he'd only been mentioned by name, and we'd only heard his voice up until this point, but we had not actually physically seen him until this moment, which, as I said before, is like 45 minutes into the film, or like 40 to 45 minutes.
Now, I got to be honest with you.
Oh no.
For that first 45 minutes, I was really, really, really enjoying that investigation aspect. It reminded me of The Ring.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Not that I'm implying there's any like sort of copying, but just that like same like person investigating this urban myth, and they go, deeper and deeper and deeper, and they get really sucked up into the lore and the monster that they're trying to catch.
It's almost like they get sucked too far into it, and then they like can't escape.
Yeah, they fall too far down the rabbit hole.
They're in too deep and they can't get out.
So for that first 45 minutes of the investigating, that was my favorite part. And then the second half of the movie kind of transitions into like a supernatural thriller.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like the movie seems very realistic up until that first scene in the parking garage with Candyman. Then after that, everything kind of just delves into the realm of crazy.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden scenes are jumping around, like Helen's waking up in places that she doesn't remember, like falling asleep in. Like the scene after the parking garage immediately transitions back into Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie's apartment building, and she's just covered in blood. So like there's a lot of stuff. It jumps around a lot in that second half, but the action definitely ramps up to like 110% in that second half.
Big time. And that's not to say I didn't get anything out of the second half, but I feel like I was enjoying it a little bit more for what it was in the first half.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like you said, things really jump out of control. Dare I say, it gets a little goofy towards the end.
A little? Yeah, but, maybe a little bit.
But yeah, so it didn't lose me, but I was definitely, I'd say the first half was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, because like after the parking garage scene, the Candyman is upset because through this entire time, Helen hadn't really believed it, and right before this parking garage scene happened, they caught the Candyman. Like because there's a tiny little red herring in the movie. I mean, I don't know if I would call it a red herring, but like that's the kind of thing that it is. But basically, Helen goes back to Cabrini Green to investigate more stuff, and then also to investigate the unfortunate death of a child that happened there.
Yeah, that was pretty extreme. I wasn't expecting that to pop up.
Yeah, that was bad. But they went back and ended up finding out that there had been a gang leader who was there who was who was using the Candyman moniker as a cover-up for killing people.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was kind of, and so like he was the culprit of the boy in that bathroom like little area.
Was he?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Like those were or I might be wrong. I might be wrong. That was just how I interpreted it. But
I got the implication that because all throughout her investigation at these in the projects, these apartments, everyone there is treating her very hostilely. They don't want her there. They think she's a cop, or that she's a character literally says like, oh yeah, nothing good ever happens when a white person comes here.
Yeah.
So they want her out. So I thought that it was them. Because she goes to investigate this bathroom well after she's already been established that she's visiting these apartments. And I thought it was the people, like, just trying to get rid of her or, like, really threaten and scare her.
Yeah.
Because one of them, like, assaults her physically.
Yeah,
in
they,
the
like,
bathroom.
physically assault her and leave her eye just super swollen and nasty.
Yeah, and so I just assumed that was them, like, trying to get her to leave.
Yeah.
Over, like a full-time copycat of the Candyman.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I could definitely see how you could see that, because I mean, I could kind of see it both ways.
I was gonna say I don't think either of our ways is like
No,
wrong or
no.
doesn't make sense within the movie. So I think I guess you could really go either direction.
Yeah, we still haven't talked about Jake yet, the little boy.
Yeah,
I love him so much.
Yeah,
He's such a good kid. I
is a
mean,
good-
he's a really good kid. And I when I was looking for trivia questions for this episode, I found out that he was referred to as One Take Jake on
really?
set, because he would always do his takes in like one take and just like perfection.
Huh. He
So,
did do a good job.
He
especially
was
for
a really,
kid
really
actor.
good. Yeah, for a kid actor, he was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, really cool. And then, so yeah, basically what happens is that Helen gets assaulted in this in Cabrini Green, and they end up catching the gang leader who had been impersonating Candyman, and then like brought him in and like arrested him and everything. And then Helen thinks that it's all over. And then she goes into her parking garage all excited because she's made the press. They're going to publish her photos. They're going to do this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets her car and it's just, Helen.
Yeah.
Helen. Like, it's just, and then all of a sudden, the Candyman is there.
Right.
Like, and he's very real. Even though, like, she had gone basically this entire movie thinking, this is not real.
Yeah,
like,
him being confined to the stories and the whisperings, but never really making a physical
Exactly.
appearance.
And now he was physical. Like,
Yeah.
he was there.
And from this point in the movie, it transitions out of the investigation.
Yes.
This now transitions into the Candyman is mad. He thinks Helen doesn't believe in him, and he wants to make Helen see what it feels like to be an urban legend. So he starts to set up murders that Helen gets blamed for.
Yeah. So the first of which ends up being Anne Marie's dog. So like after her first initial connection with the Candyman, she gets basically she like wakes up in a bathroom covered in like, I think it's supposed to mimic like the Candyman's trench coat or like something, because she wakes up and like pulls something off of her and she is just covered in blood. They're screaming, and then she opens the door and there's a dog.
Yeah.
And then
Specifically just the head portion of it.
Yeah. And then it transitions and pans into another room where Anne Marie is screaming over a crib,
Which is also full of blood.
Which is also full of blood, first impressions for me, I thought Baby Anthony was dead, and I was very, very sad.
Yeah,
because Baby Anthony was very, very good, and I loved him.
What surprised me, I was like, wow, they're really going in hard with this if they're gonna like kill a baby.
Yeah, and like they had just gotten done with talking about how like this baby was the only thing Anne Marie had in her life, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it turns out that the baby was not dead. The baby
was not dead.
But the baby was not. The Candyman was kind of hiding the baby.
Yeah,
in
kind
these
of using
apartments.
it as like a hostage or a ransom.
Yeah,
because he was using the baby as like to like get Helen to come join him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that's his whole thing too. Like his tagline is "Be my victim,"
Yeah,
which I think is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But he basically uses Baby Anthony to try to bring Helen, for a lack of better term, to the dark side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this basically becomes this series of basically Candyman murdering people and then framing Helen.
Yeah, which is...
One of them ends up being Bernadette, and I was very, very sad because I liked Bernadette a lot as a character.
Yeah, it's Helen's best friend.
Helen's best friend and the person she was working on the thesis with.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was very, very sad, which all of these like framed murders end up landing her in a psych ward.
Yeah.
So Helen's husband, Trevor, he is a professor at the University of Illinois. And there are some students in his class that get awfully handsy with the man.
They're really into Trevor.
For some reason. But Helen like feels that Trevor is the only person that like believes her and like understands her, and like he literally says to her after all this goes down, like after everything with Anne-Marie, he tells her, he's like, I'm gonna stay with you until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she gets sent to the psych ward, he immediately starts having an affair with one of his students.
Yeah.
That scene infuriated me.
Yeah.
I literally I wrote in my notes, I was just like, of course it's the student, Trevor.
Yeah.
Like, it was, I mean, it's a college, so I mean, I guess, I mean, it's, I don't know.
Well, I mean, Helen was still a student, to be fair.
Well, yeah. I mean, Helen was still a student too,
She
but
was
like
just an older
it was
student.
mentioned that he teaches a class of freshmen, and she's a senior.
Got you.
Of a master's program.
Right.
So.
Right.
So yeah, Helen breaks out of the psych ward with remarkable ease. I mean, if this movie was set in around the time that it was like filmed, this movie was set in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And like apparently just the security was not good or something, because she literally goes to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist gets killed by the Candyman, and then she just breaks out. So
yeah, she starts climbing a window outside, and then because after the Candyman flies backwards out of the window.
That was so cool. Yeah. I liked that, even though you could see the wire that like yanks him out the window.
You could see the wire whipping him out the window. Yeah,
it was cool.
But then she like crawls on the outside ledge and then just taps on a door, like a window, and a nurse lets her in. And
yeah, I do remember seeing that. I thought she broke the window.
Really goofy. She's like covered in blood on the outside ledge of like the third story. And she's like, and the nurse just like lets her in the window.
I loved the guy that's sitting in the room where she breaks in and like starts stealing the nurse's clothes, and the guy's just laying on the bed like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that was really goofy.
Yeah, so basically after all this goes down, Helen realizes that like there's no one left in her life. Like, Trevor was the only person that she had left.
Yeah.
So then the Candyman gets back in her head and is like, just gaslights her, basically.
Yeah.
He's just like, I am the only one who will stay by you throughout this entire time. And then the climax of this movie is that she goes back to Cabrini Green to, like, take care of the Candyman for good.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that scene where she's, like, in... I can't remember where it is, but like she goes in and like the Candyman's lying on the platform.
Oh, yeah. And
then they have their little thing together.
Yeah, she's in like an apartment room and he's like laying on like an altar.
Yeah, he's like asleep.
Yeah.
She's gonna kill him, but then she can't.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and he stole that baby from like halfway in the movie, and he's been using it as like leverage to like, you know, either you let me kill you or I'll kill this baby.
Yeah.
And so she obviously doesn't want the baby to die, so she goes to him to offer herself in placement of the baby. But then he still like 180s her, and then like puts the baby in a giant bonfire outside.
Yeah. So outside Cabrini Green, there's this big collection of flammable junk. And that's all piled up. And Jake actually says it's for, like, a party or something. But really, it's out there to catch the candy. Or at least somewhat of, like, part of it is... It was, like, something Candyman related. Because that's where the climax of the movie takes place, is that... the baby is in the bonfire. So Helen climbs into the bonfire... But she has a hook for some reason. Like
that Candyman gave her a hook.
The Candyman gave her a hook, which she like uses to get in. But like Jake sees the hook going in, and they automatically assume that like, oh my God, the Candyman is in there, and then they go light it on fire with Helen, the Candyman, and the baby still inside.
Yeah, you see what I say when I was like It really escalates from this like subdued investigation, like morbid urban crime story.
Yeah. Oh my God, we haven't even talked about the bees.
Oh yeah, that's
the
like
bees!
If the Candyman, you know, he doesn't even have one shtick; he's got two.
Yeah.
He's got bees that kind of follow him everywhere, and there's a little bit of a motif of them.
Yeah, there's a bee motif
following Helen around through her investigation. All live bees on set.
all live bees. They did credit a bee wrangler in the credits, which was really, really cool. And like apparently all the like bees were younger. So like they didn't sting.
I heard that in an interview.
Yeah, so
apparently bees don't sting for the first 48
Yeah,
hours
like 24 to 48 hours that they're
after
alive.
they've been born. But when they're born, they're almost full-sized.
Yeah.
So they look like a real bee, but they don't sting yet.
Bees
which
are
is
whack,
really
man.
cool, and I did not know that.
Bees are whack, man.
And I don't... I mean, that must have been the only way they could have convinced, because they've got bees all over the actors at certain points.
I mean, there are bees coming out of Tony Todd's mouth, and I was... that entire scene, I was like...
Yeah, it was quite gross.
I did read somewhere that like Tony Todd actually had like a mouth guard in, and like the bees were crawling out of there. But regardless, the bees still somehow made it into his mouth.
Right. Yeah.
He was like telling some of the producers that, like he could feel them crawling to the back of his throat. And I'm like,
yeah, no.
No. And, like, yeah, 'cause they were all over Virginia Madsen. They were all over Tony. Like, they were just everywhere. Like, he like pulls open his trench coat and then reveals just a big, just not a bare chest, but like a rib cage, and it's just full of bees.
Yeah.
So it's just. Yeah, so the bees is another motif of the Candyman, which is why like some of the promotional material for the new one has like bees on the like
this
there's
new one
a lot
has
of bees.
a lot of bees in the promotional material.
Yeah, I imagine they play into the motif a lot more with the first one or with this new one because like it's a pretty creative motif. Like I can't think of any other movie that uses bees as a motif other than I don't know like the bee movie. God dang it. Okay.
Nice.
So I guess we can start talking about the end of the film because
Yep.
we've been talking about this for a long time, but Helen actually doesn't make it out. So like the Candyman dies in the inferno that of the campfire, and then Helen makes it out with the baby and like gives the baby back to Anne Marie and is like, I got it back, and then she just kind of dies.
Yeah.
Like she's
been on fire for a while.
Yeah, like she burns, like her hair just burns completely off.
Yeah.
And like we see a like the next scene is like a funeral.
It reminded me of Lava Anakin from Revenge of the Sith.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're right. No, well, less cryptic than that because like she's still like her it was just her scalp that was really really burned.
Oh no, yeah.
Like the prosthetic, like she just has no hair anymore. But I thought that graveyard scene was really really cool. Like because like originally at the graveyard scene there are 4 people. It's Trevor, his new mistress, which I'm like, why? The professor, and then 2 other professors at the university, which one of them was actually played by the director Bernard Rose.
Oh, really?
It was not the one with long hair. The one that didn't have like a lot of lines. That was him.
Gotcha.
But all of a sudden, from the distance comes all of the Cabrini Green residents to Helen's burial. And that was really really cool because like it's led by Anne Marie with her baby and Jake.
Yep.
And then Jake like throws the Candyman's hook into the grave. As kind of like a thank you for helping or something like that. But I think this last scene is really cool too.
That's another one that like I kind of got a different interpretation.
Oh,
from
really?
That. I don't know. It just seemed more ominous. I thought it was more of a, like, yes, we're like condemning you. Take your hook and be gone. We don't want any part of this anymore. We don't want this hook around. We want you to be buried and be done with. So I took it as more of like a we condemn you. We're sick of this. We don't want any more to do with you. I mean,
I could see that.
I suppose. I don't know, because like that's what I thought. I thought they were coming to pay respects because she saved the baby. But then they threw the hook in, and I took a more like ominous tone to that than like a sweet gesture.
Interesting, yeah. I could definitely see how you could get that.
Right, but... and I don't know that either one is more right than the other, but yeah, that's just what I got from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like it, but it was very like I got an ominous tone from it.
Yeah, and then the last scene of this movie is the big kicker of like the entire plot. So. It goes back to Trevor and the mistress, whose name is Stacy, in their apartment, and Trevor is just done. Like he is sad. He's just really really low.
Yeah.
And he lost something really good when he lost Helen, man. Like there was Helen was so good to him, yet he had to go and cheat on her with one of his students. Like, that's not cool, man.
Yeah.
But
I mean, at least he feels bad, but it's a bit too late for that.
Yeah, it's a bit late for that. I mean, he's literally just moping in his bathroom while his girlfriend is like making a salad outside.
Really angrily chopping up meat. Yeah.
Really angrily, like chopping up meat that she hurts herself, and I'm like, serves you right. But while he's in the bathroom,
she did a wicked throw onto the table. She took meat out with a paper plate and like threw it across like the whole kitchen, and it landed on the table. Like, I rewound that because I was like impressed. I was like, oh my god, that was like perfect.
Like, oh my goodness, all right. But yeah, so while he's in the bathroom moping about Helen, he like goes into the mirror of the bathroom and is just like gripping the counter, and he's like, Helen, and he ends up saying her name 5 times in the mirror, and then turns off the light. All of a sudden, Helen appears behind him.
Yeah.
The new Candyman.
Yeah. She's still burned from the fire.
She's still burned. So like she's in like a white hospital gown or something. She's in like a gown, and like she has no hair, so it's like all scarred over. And she has the hook. Like the Candyman like has the hook embedded onto like the stump where his right hand used to be.
Yeah.
But Helen's just holding it.
You're right. Yeah.
And she looks at Trevor and is like, something wrong, Trevor. You look scared, and then just kills him.
Yeah, slices him up.
Him up, and then...
And the movie kind of ends on that nice little note.
The movie kind of... nice as in murder. I mean, it does end... Like, the movie does end with, like, the credits rolling, and, like, there's a really pretty mural of, like, Helen in the apartment.
That's
I really
true.
liked that. But... I don't know if I would call the end with Trevor and his mistress, which I keep thinking about the shirt she was wearing.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that? Because,
yeah, that was really funny.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It was just completely see-through.
Yeah.
Like it was not okay, but it was just it was something. But yeah, I feel like this movie did end really nicely.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I like that. I like that twist. I don't necessarily like every step they took to get her there as her own urban legend, but I do think that's kind of like interesting.
Yeah.
That she got turned into like the same kind of story that the Candyman is. But
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're going to go to another song break, and then we're going to come back and do some fun trivia. Are we ready?
I think we're ready.
Woo! All right, it is trivia time.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Do you want to start or me? I have a couple questions for this, more than just the normal like 3 and 3 that we do.
Sure. So you go first.
Okay. So we talked about the live bees on set. What was the dangerous irony of filming with those live bees on set?
Choking on them? Because they were in his mouth?
No, it was more. It was attached to one of the actors.
Oh, was one of them allergic to bees?
Yes, Virginia Madsen was allergic to bees.
Yikes! Oh my god!
So they had to have paramedics on site, like during the entire filming of that scene. Even though there was a very, very low chance of her getting stung, there was still a chance. So,
yeah.
I mean, I was reading somewhere that like that was almost a reason that she didn't take the role, was because she was allergic to bees. So like she actually had to go get tested and make sure that like. And then, sure enough, she was allergic to bee venom. So they had paramedics on like high alert, like if she was to get stung, to like get her something, like to make sure that she doesn't die.
Yeah.
For real. So.
All right. My trivia question: how many times was Tony Todd stung while working on this movie?
Ooh, I saw this data, but I didn't write it down. 34?
It was 23.
23!
He got stung 23 times. And apparently, according to mentalfloss.com, he got a bonus each time it happened.
Shut up!
So,
really?
I guess, yeah.
Dude!
'Cause, like, you're getting injured on set? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Okay.
I would, like, $1,000 a pop.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy, I'd be getting stung intentionally at that point.
Like, oh no, the bee, it was the bee. Okay. So there were a lot of scenes where it feels very psychedelic, like, and where Helen is absolutely transfixed by the Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
They did actually use a special technique for this. Do you happen to know what it was?
Real hypnosis?
Yes.
Yep.
So they actually did use hypnosis on Virginia Madsen for some of the scenes where, like, she's absolutely, like, it's phasing in and out of, like, different pictures and, like, overlays and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they used it for multiple scenes, so she had, like, a phrase that would send her into that state of hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was. I don't remember if there was any publication of what it was, but, like, the director would use it, and, like, she would immediately just go into this, like, hypnotic state where she was just... Because, like, the director didn't want her to scream because he thought that was super tacky.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
Candyman's usually delivering monologues at that point as well.
Yeah, so it's more of just, like, falling asleep to the sound of his voice.
Yeah.
But apparently... I mean, pretty obviously, she became very uncomfortable with the practice of being basically not having any conscious movements or thoughts while she's filming. So she called it quits and asked them to stop, like, the first day that they were trying to use it.
Wow, really?
So there were a couple scenes where it's, like, just static her face. But they might have used it for that one scene where she's, like, laying on the bed in the psych ward and, like, the Candyman's hovering on top of her.
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling they might have used it for that, because there was that one point where she's, like, thrashing around and, like, just yelling, and then all of a sudden she just snaps to Tony Todd's face.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that might have been something to do with that, but I don't know. It was very, very interesting. And also very nice, considering that, like, she realized she was uncomfortable with it, and therefore the director stopped doing it.
Yeah.
So
I tried to get hypnotized once, and
Really?
it didn't work, and I've never been more disappointed in my entire life.
I mean, you've seen, like, the gimmicks before of, like they'll have it at school events and, like,
Well, that's what it
events,
was.
that kind of
Yeah,
things.
it was a post-prom.
I've never done
we hire a
that.
hypnotist. There were a few of my friends that got hypnotized, and they all claim that it's real. So, I believe them.
It's like it just didn't work for you. So.
No, it didn't work for me. I'm so disappointed.
Maybe the hypnotist was just bad.
Well, maybe. They had to stick our arms out to the side, and they're like, okay, you can't move your arms down anymore. You physically can't move your arms down. And that's how they picked out the students that would go. Because, like, 4/5 of the auditorium, just everybody put their arms down immediately. And then, like, the 15 or so people that, like, apparently couldn't do it got to be called up and, like, be hypnotized.
Oh, I see. I see.
And I wished so hard that I wouldn't be able to put my arms down, but I was able to just fine. So
I've never done that. I mean, they had that kind of thing for, like, a senior all night party at my high school, but I didn't get that because COVID. So
Oh, smart, yeah.
Yeah. So what's your next question?
All right, my next one is who else was considered for the lead in Candyman?
Lead meaning
The role of Candyman.
Oh, I know this one because this is one of my questions.
Oh, shoot.
Oh my goodness. Diana strikes again.
The lights
just went out in the hallway. That's funny. Okay. So the other person who was considered for the role of Candyman was Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
But he was not offered the role because he was too short. Did you not have that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was an extra part of that. Like, the other person who was considered for the role of Candyman was Eddie Murphy, but he was deemed too short for the role.
Wow, that's embarrassing.
It's because that he stands at 5'9", and Tony Todd is 6'5".
Oh, yeah. Tony Todd is really big.
Yeah, he's extremely tall. Like, 6'5", that's a foot taller than me, and then some.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like 5'4". So
yeah, I guess 5'9's not that bad. But
no, it's not. It's not bad.
It's not
but,
as
like,
intimidating.
Compared to Tony Todd, it's like
right. Yeah, killers are either really tall or they're really short.
Yeah,
you got, like, Chucky and, like, the Jigsaw puppet.
That's true. Yeah,
they're, like, really tiny.
Well, I mean, they gotta make it. They gotta make it dynamic somehow.
Right.
Like, you're not gonna be scared of something that's just average size unless it's, like, I don't know, unless it has, like, a knife hand.
Right. Yeah. yeah. There you go.
Because, like, Michael and Jason are massive.
Yeah, they're huge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Had Virginia Madsen been unavailable to play Helen, who would the role have gone to instead?
Oh boy. Oh, I don't know. Oh, hold on. I'm pretty sure I saw something about this. I just got to think of her name. She was in Bird Box. Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
Yes.
You were right. Yes.
Yes.
So if Virginia Madsen had been unavailable to play Helen, the role would have gone to Sandra Bullock, who was at this time really unknown. Like, she hadn't really exploded onto the film scene yet.
Gotcha.
So it probably would have been her big break if it had been Sandra Bullock.
Well, I think still she's probably bigger than
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at like Virginia Madsen's credits, and this is really her biggest. But she's had quite a few notable roles in like TV, more than film.
Sure.
So,
all right. My last question: was the Candyman killer based on anything real?
I know that this movie was based on like a short story that either Clive Barker or Bernard Rose wrote. But I don't know if you consider if that's what you're talking about when you say like real. Like, are you talking about like if it like
was there anyone like
event?
in real life who like inspired the story of the Candyman?
Oh God, I would be terrified. But so I'm gonna say no.
Well, apparently there was.
Oh my God.
The Chicago-based legend of the Candyman is a work of fiction. There was apparently an actual serial killer that was called Candyman or the Candyman. And between 1970 and 1973, Dean Corll kidnapped, tortured, and murdered 28 boys in the Houston area.
Ooh.
And he got the name because he owned a candy factory. So I'm surprised I didn't know that
I'm
because
shocked.
that's really that's
goodness.
a lot of victims.
That's a lot, yeah.
I mean,
that's like true crime level. Like,
right. I'm
yeah.
just like really shocked. I've never heard of him before. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was a real thing.
Wow, okay.
Which, okay, just to be fair, it doesn't really make a lot of sense why he's called the Candyman. If anything, his name should be like Honey Boy.
I think Candyman is a much scarier name than Honey Boy. Well, there is a small part where where Helen goes into like the room for the first time, the one with the Candyman mural on the wall, and she finds like that little like handkerchief full of like candy that had razor blades in it.
Yeah, yeah.
That might have been something to do with it.
There's that one part, and then the rest of the like urban legend of Candyman within the movie is that
he was the son of a slave.
He was the son of a slave, and then he dated a white girl. And after he got her pregnant, the dad of the white girl had people go after him. They were the ones that cut off his hand and put in a hook. And then they... this is like the whole part of the movie. Like, this sums up like my biggest issue with the movie is like that alone right there. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because it's like they said it was with a saw. They like
they
arm
sawed it off with a rusty saw.
Yeah, and then he had to stick a hook into his hand. But that's not excessive enough. No. They sawed his hand off, put a hook in, and then went to their local beekeeper's farm, took honeycomb, smothered it on him, and then brought him back to the beehives where he was stung to death, and then they burned him.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot, and I don't really know.
I mean, I feel terrible because that's terror. That's awful.
Yeah, it's awful.
Like, it was a very, very, it's racist. Like, it was
terrible.
Yeah,
that too. Yeah.
Like, yeah, very, very bad. But it was definitely very excessive in terms of like looking at like other killers' backstories. Like, you look at like I've been mentioning this a lot, but like you look at like Jason Voorhees, he drowned in a lake as a child. Freddy Krueger wasn't he like caught in a fire or something, or like he was
he was burned in his house.
He was burned in like a fire or like some sort of
the locals set his house on fire.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Michael Myers didn't even die.
Michael Myers didn't even die.
He just killed his sister when he was a kid.
Yeah. There are much more. Candyman's backstory is definitely a lot more detailed and complex than others.
Yeah.
So, okay, I got one more question.
Okay.
So, there was a notable cameo in this movie from a familiar name of a person that we have already talked about in a past episode of this podcast.
Oh,
Who is it? I should say it's not the person itself, but it is a relative of the person that's in this movie.
There was a cameo.
Or no, we've talked about the relative of this person that was in the cameo of this movie.
Oh, okay.
Their last names are the same.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I'm trying to go over the names of people in movies that we've seen. Harrison Ford was in Blade Runner. Oh boy, I don't know. I can't even think of half the names for people.
Okay, yeah, it's really, really obscure. But at the very, very beginning of the movie, where it describes like the girl is talking about the first ever like Candyman kill, where she's like, "It's all true. I know it is."
Mm-hmm.
It's a babysitter and her boyfriend Billy. Well, boyfriend. Like it was just a greaser character that was like just like the random love interest of like. You know, is this random babysitter who is in this story.
Right.
And that character is played by Ted Raimi, and his brother Sam Raimi is the director of The Evil Dead.
Okay, that's cool.
So,
wow, I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
really...
I mean, and he did some acting work as like I'm pretty sure he was he had like some sort of like creature role in The Evil Dead as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
That was just really, really interesting because, like, I mean, I love The Evil Dead. I still love that episode a lot. So, like, when we talked about that episode, we talked about Sam Raimi and his influence on the horror genre. So this is just part of that. So
yeah, actually, as I was going over looking at our old episodes that we'd done, I realized that. Well, I didn't realize. I saw that we had done Evil Dead. I remembered it. And I want to go back and rewatch that probably this Halloween. I just haven't seen it since the last podcast.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I've just got this itch to go back and rewatch it.
Just watch it on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my only thing. So
yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
Nope, I'm all out of questions.
All right. So I guess we'll give our final thoughts and our ratings for this movie, because that's something that we totally do for every episode of the podcast, and we haven't forgotten.
We've never forgot it ever.
So, do you want to go first or me?
Sure, I can go first. So I really liked this movie. I thought it was a very fun cult horror film, and it was actually there was a lot more quality to it than I was expecting, especially with things like the score. The acting was really good, the sets were pretty great, and the cinematography was dynamic, so all good there. Just for me, it's that second half where it becomes so outrageous, and especially when I was really digging the investigation aspect of it, it gets into this, albeit slightly goofy, like escalation, and it also hinges a lot on a cliche, which annoys me a little bit. Like, she gets committed to this mental hospital because 2 separate times in a row they catch her at like the worst possible moment with like a knife above her head, even though she didn't do any of the murdering.
That was the most infuriating part of the movie for me, was that like she always like got framed, like there was always a knife in her hand, or like she woke up with a knife in her hand, and that was like, how they found her.
Classic, like really stupid, unfortunate timing. Yeah. So that part bugged me, but I still had a fun time with it, even though towards the end I didn't like it as much as the beginning. So I think overall between that, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10.
Nice. Okay, so my final thoughts. I really like this movie. I've been meaning to watch it for a while, and this podcast just gave me a good excuse to do it, so I'm happy about that. I liked the way that they used both the like slasher ideologies and also like a paranormal aspect. Those meshed really well for me. There are some very iconic things that did come out of this movie, like the Candyman himself, like the iconic the hook, the bees, be my victim, like that kind of thing. So I feel like this movie really, really does it. It's really good. I like it. I like it a lot, and the aspects, like both technical and like story-wise, really, really work for me. So I'm gonna give this a 8 out of 10, just because now after like listening to what you were saying about like some of the more like things that didn't make sense and the more outrageous stuff, now I'm seeing that like maybe it was a little more outrageous, and I was just kind of blinded by the fact that I was like, ooh, Tony Todd, murder.
No, yeah, it's fine. If you like this movie the more than me, that's totally cool.
That was our first episode back. We are.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
We're back into the swing of things now. I
Yeah.
am so ready to review more movies on here.
So this podcast takes place, same time. So it's going to be 5:00 p.m. on Fridays. So we've decided that we're going to take turns alternating deciding like what movie we're going to watch next. So technically, because we technically did it together, but I was the one who kind of proposed Candyman for this week.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack is going to give us what we're going to do next week.
Yeah, so we reviewed a lot of horror on this because we barely made it to November the last time.
Yeah.
So but I mean that's totally fine by me.
I love
horror. Is my favorite genre.
Mine too. Horror is one of my favorite genres of movie.
But just for the sake of expansion a little bit, look outside just the horror realm. I'm going to recommend a movie which has been on my watch list for ever since I started to like movies, and this is very like ingrained in pop culture as well. Which is something that apparently we just discuss a lot. Is a lot of culture movies.
Pulp culture.
But yeah, the movie that I'm going to recommend is The Truman Show.
Ooh, okay.
Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I can't think of any like actors.
It stars Jim Carrey.
Oh, it's Jim Carrey. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love Jim Carrey. This is gonna be fun.
All right. Yeah. So then, yeah.
So be back here next Friday at 5 p.m. Same place, same station, and we're gonna review The Truman Show.
If you've missed an episode or you ever want to go back, we have a YouTube channel, Ravings and Reviews. An episode that you hear on air will get uploaded around a week about after it's been live. So you can subscribe to that and keep updated.
We have about 10 episodes up there right now of past episodes. There are 2 more that we're still waiting on to get posted that were recorded a while ago.
Last year.
But we're excited to get back into the swing of things and finally, get to do this for real this time.
Yeah.
So awesome. So thank you so much if you're here listening to us, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. Be back for more Ravings and Reviews.
Woo!